What do we have that's completely new, Dr. Kermode?
Dreamgirls, which, if you remember when we were doing the Oscars nominations simulcast...
That's right.
I think that was what it was referred to.
BBC News special.
It was. I think it was groundbreaking. It's 8 Academy Award nominations, although critically not the biggies. I mean, not up for Best Film, which I caught some people slightly by surprise because it had won Best Musical or Comedy at the Golden Globes. This just goes to prove, incidentally, that old rule about the Academy Awards and musicals and comedies is true. Very often you'll get something that actually wins in the musical or comedy category in the Golden Globes that doesn't even get nominated in that category. And I remember when Nicole Kidman won Best Actress Musical or Comedy for To Die For and didn't even manage to get Oscar nominated. So it does happen quite regularly. So now Dreamgirls, which is nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Eddie Murphy and Jennifer Hudson for Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress respectively, they both won at the Golden Globes. The story is a great big, upbeat, hoofing, zhuzhy, post-Chicago, but much better than that style, nostalgic musical about the rise of a girl group whose story bears great similarity to the story of Diana Ross and the Supremes. It stars Jamie Foxx and Beyonce Knowles, but in fact, the co-stars, Eddie Murphy and Jennifer Hudson, are pretty much stolen the glory. Okay, so the really interesting thing about Dreamgirls is there's this weird parallel between the way in which the movie is worked out, it's a stage show movie, and the story which it kind of takes its inspiration from. In the case of Diana Ross and the Supremes, the story was always that Diana Ross ended up leading the Supremes. She didn't have the best voice, but she looked the best and she sounded the kind of blandest. And in the story of Dreamgirls, there's a moment in which Beyonce Knowles gets to sing lead as opposed to Jennifer Hudson because she looks better and also because she's told by the guy played by Jamie Foxx that, you know, your voice, it's a bit more bland. And, you know, for that reason, we need you out front because what we're trying to do is get the kind of the white bread audience. And there is a fairly, you know, reasonable subtext in this about what happened to the blandification of black music in order to get it on the white radio stations. It's a fairly well rehearsed story, but it's done quite well. That, you know, blues and soul and gospel was a form of music that was turned into a sort of watered down, milkier version in order to be sold to the American public. For a long time, there was a complete division between white and black music. You'd know this. You're a music DJ. Why am I teaching my grandmother to suck eggs?
Because you're not just broadcasting to me.
No, but I feel like I am, Simon. I feel like our arguments are just between you and me. Yes, fine. True. Of course, what's happened is that Jennifer Hudson, who plays the one who's got the really, really great voice but doesn't have perhaps the spectacular looks of Beyonce Knowles, apparently she was on American Idol. This is a very well-known story.
She came ninth.
Like, you know, did not... I mean, she was a finalist, but she didn't win. And yet, wow, can she sing. And in the course of the movie, her character gets sidelined because she doesn't quite look right, but she can really, really sing. And the Beyonce Knowles character actually ends up looking, well, much as people who are purists about Diana Ross and the Supremes say, like somebody who ended up as a false pretender to the throne. Of course, in the case of the movie, actually all the attention has been on Jennifer Hudson, who is really, really good. She can really sing. She can really... She's come completely out of nowhere. She came 9th or 10th or 15th or whatever it was in American Idol. And now here she is with a Golden Globe already under her belt, an Oscar nomination, which I think she's got a pretty good chance of getting, and a BAFTA nomination for Best Supporting Actress, which I think she's really, really a shoe-in for. So almost out of nowhere, this person has got this extraordinary recognition. And this, if you were Beyonce Knowles, which you're not, clearly, but if you were...
Nicely observed.
Yes, you might feel, I wonder exactly how that happened. The other thing which is surprising... And there's been awful lot of critical sniffiness about the movie over here. People saying, well, you know, it's just a musical, and people keep bursting into song like they do in musicals. You know what? It's because it's a musical. If you don't like musicals, get over it. Musicals are great. You know, Singing in the Rain, fabulous. On the Town, fabulous. You know, Seven Brides, Seven Brothers, fabulous. What's the problem? Musicals,
some
great.
Musicals are great. Clearly not musicals are great. That clearly is not.
The musical form is a great form that almost got resurrected a few years ago when Woody Allen did Everyone Says I Love You. Actually, funnily enough, Priscilla Queen of the Desert was the beginning of the sort of modern musical form. That was the point at which Stephen Elliott said that he had to reinvent the musical, which had been killed stone dead by Xanadu. He said the most amazing thing about Xanadu is that somebody went into a meeting and pitched it and said, here's the plot. I'm doing it in Australian accent because this is how Stephen Elliott did it. The great god Zeus sends his only daughter Zera down to Earth to open a roller disco. And they said, fine, brilliant, have Olivia Newton-Bomb and everybody else and it'll take millions of pounds.
Olivia Newton-John, OBE, of course.
Your Grace. So, anyway, moving swiftly on, the other great thing about it is Eddie Murphy, who we remember as being rubbish recently in... Well, almost everything, frankly. Daddy Daycare and Pluto Nash and...
Dr. Dolittle was all right.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, original Dr. Dolittle, incredibly erudite, funny, you know, well done. Eddie Murphy, Dr. Dolittle, It's lots of animals breaking wind. Now, I don't have anything against breaking wind jokes, but it's kind of like redoing My Fair Lady, but with just every now and then somebody goes, oh, pardon me, Vicar, more tea, doesn't work. So the thing
makes me laugh.
The thing he's most famous for recently is being the voice of the talking donkey in Shrek. And now comes back Eddie Murphy, and you think, I'll have to take back all those things I said about him, because he does this performance which is a bit James Brown, and a bit Little Richard, and a bit Marvin Gaye, and a bit Eddie Murphy, and it's really good. Now, I didn't like Chicago very much, because I thought it was, directed to within an inch of its life, and every time somebody's foot hit the floor there was a cut and you couldn't see anything being done. But I prefer this. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think there are things wrong with it, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it has enough of a solid backbone of a story that's actually about what happened to the music business, and it's close enough to the story of Diana Ross and the Supremes to be interesting, although it's not, I would say, in the same league as, for example, Grace of My Heart, which is absolutely mighty, which is the fictional story about a character who's clearly based on Carole King. And in that story, she goes on to marry Brian Wilson, who then drowns in the sea, which of course didn't happen in real life. That was the other one. So it's not Grace of My Heart, but it's not Chicago either.